All right, welcome everybody. This week's Spite Fitness membership site recording is going to be about mastering the art of kitchen. Chef tips for an easy and manageable cooking, right? So I come from this big chef background. I want to tell you as much as I can about it to make your life easier. I realized when people ask me, like, how do you meal prep? I'm like, oh, you just do it really efficiently, like XYZ. And they're like, I've never cooked that in my life. And I'm like, oh, well, let's start with the basics, right? And so that's kind of what I want to talk about this week is some of the basic things that will help you thrive in your kitchen and make meal prepping an easier step, an easier thing to do. You know, I had one client I was talking to and she was like, meal prepping takes me like 3 hours. I was like, it's you alone. How much are you meal prepping? She's like, well, it's just really hard when you only have one small sheet pan. And I was like, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you just not get more sheet pans? The oven has multiple racks, use them. And she was like, oh, but it's what I already have. And I was like, okay, but you can afford a sheet pan, right? She's like, well, yeah. And I was like, okay, let's start there, right? And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about this week, that kind of stuff, really basic stuff. So, we're talking about planning your meals ahead of time, organizing your kitchen space, investing in some quality kitchen tools, mastering basic cooking techniques, how to use leftovers effect creatively, and experiment with new flavors and ingredients, right? And this is what we're going to talk about today. So, welcome to Chef Tips, Volume 1. Making your kitchen life easy and manageable. Whether you're a seasoned home cook or just starting out, this presentation is for you. We'll be sharing some of my favorite tips and tricks for making cooking and meal prep easier, faster, and more enjoyable. My goal is to help you feel confident and empowered in the kitchen, no matter what your skill level is. From meal planning to mastering basic cooking techniques, I've got you covered. Sit back, relax, and get ready to rumble. So, number one, this is going to help a lot when you're going to the store and what you're planning for your week and kind of getting an idea of where you're going to be at, right? And so it's going to be plan your meals ahead of time. You know, meal planning is a central part of maintaining a healthy and organized kitchen. By planning your meals ahead of time, you can save money, reduce food waste, and ensure that you always have nutritious meals on hand. To plan your meals effectively and efficiently, start by taking inventory of what you already have in the kitchen and the pantry. Then make a list of the ingredients you need for the week ahead. Plan your meals around those ingredients. And don't forget to consider your schedule or any special dietary needs or preferences of you or your partner, right? So 30% of food bought in America is thrown in the trash. 30%. Would you like to save 30% on your shopping bill? I know I would. So how do you do that? You do it by planning ahead and not wasting food and not letting those vegetables die in the back of the fridge or not forgetting about that fish that you forgot about from 2 weeks ago, right? So that's why we want to start planning ahead and staying on top of things. And a lot of times you can look in your pantry and be like, oh, I still got, 3 cans of beans and a thing of salsa. I guess we could do tacos this week, right? And use the stuff you already have and kind of go from there. And then that might help you be more inspired. As someone who came from a place of food scarcity, it blows my mind that 30% of food is thrown away. And if we can just get on top of that, like regardless of like what it costs us, but just like, for the people that need to eat, or maybe we can donate food to the food bank if it's going to go bad, or things you can think about, right? Like I've looked in the back of my pantry and I'm totally guilty of this and finding stuff from like 3 years expired. I'm like, why do I have this? Right. So, getting ahead of that, kind of staying on top of it is a really good thing to do to kind of plan your meals. And then you kind of know what to expect, like, especially if you're tracking your macros really efficiently. If you're planning your meals ahead of time, you kind of know what your macros are going to be at the end of the day. And then you know how much you can snack throughout the day too. But that's another whole longer presentation about macros and tracking. Number 2, organize your kitchen space. As someone who worked in restaurants for many years, it drives me crazy when I go to someone's house or cook somewhere else and it is not very efficient. And where you think the silverware drawer should be, it's not. And where you go to reach for some cooking utensil, you have to like go behind something to grab it. Like that's not what you want to be doing when you're meal prepping. You want to be as concise and quick as possible so it doesn't feel like a chore. If it feels like a chore, you're not going to want to do it, right? And we want to stay on top of that and not make this a chore. So keeping a tidy kitchen is not just about aesthetics. It can also have a significant impact on your mental state and your overall well-being. Studies have shown that a cluttered environment can lead to increased stress levels and decreased productivity. By organizing your kitchen space, you can create a calm and peaceful atmosphere that will make cooking and meal prep a more enjoyable experience. To start organizing your kitchen, begin by decluttering and getting rid of any items that are no longer needed or used. Next, group similar items together and designate specific areas for each category. Those make it easier to find what you need and everything in its place. Finally, invest in some storage solutions such as shelves, baskets, drawer organizers to maximize your space and keep everything neat and tidy. I just went through this week. We had a couple containers that we used for like the large cooking ware, and they were getting too small. We had too much. I don't know. They were just kind of being a hassle to me. So of course I bought some like $5 containers, and they made the kitchen space feel way easier. They match. I went through it, threw away a bunch of stuff that we never use. I was like, why do I have a half melted rubber spatula? Why do I have 2 half melted rubber spatulas? What is this third one doing here? I just threw them. I was like, why am I doing this? Right. And so I just felt better. Right. And then I set all my tongs that are too big to fit in there, hanging on a hook on the side of the cabinet, so I can just kind of reach up and grab them. Same with ladles. It's really just about organizing your space in general. I like to put cacao powder in my coffee every morning, and I had it in a bag, and it was driving me crazy. So now I got a little container for it on the counter, and it just makes my life simpler and easier. Those are the kind of things that are going to help, and that can help with you in your kitchen, right? Think about where else that could apply to, but let's start in the kitchen. This one's big. This one's huge. And I cannot state this one enough. Invest in quality kitchen tools. Quality kitchen tools are one of the best decisions you can make for your cooking experience. Not only do they make cooking easier and more enjoyable, but they also save you time and money in the long run. Some essential kitchen tools to consider are a high quality knife, a sturdy cutting board, a reliable set of measuring cups and spoons, a nice versatile skillet, right? Like a nice medium-sized, a large-sized skillet, and a durable Dutch oven is also good too. By having these tools on hand, you're able to tackle any recipe with ease and confidence. So I have a really expensive, nice set of, cookware. I have a really nice, expensive set of knives. I even got my wife her own knives, so she wouldn't use my knives because I like my knives. And, I have really nice cutting boards. I have like well-sized sheet pans. Like I have sheet pans that fit the entire space of my oven, and I have a couple of them, and so I can optimize cooking as much as possible. I can cook like 8 pounds of squash at once. I can cook like 15 pounds of fish at once, right? Like a large amount of things, right? And then a Dutch oven is really fun too. If you want to like start on the stove, get something sauteed, get it cooked, and then throw it in the oven and finish it, it's a really good thing to have. So if you buy one sharp, really nice knife now, you'll probably never have to buy another knife again. So instead of buying a bunch of little knives, you can buy one big knife and just stay there. Hello, Hannah. Okay, so that's why we talk about investing in quality kitchen tools. Master your basic cooking techniques, okay? Mastering basic cooking techniques can be a game changer in the kitchen. Learning how to properly chop vegetables, cook rice, and sear meat, you'll save time, produce better results every time you cook. One technique worth mastering is the art of braising, right? This is a slow cooking method that involves browning meat in a pan before simmering in liquid until it becomes tender and flavorful. Another really useful skill is basically sauteing, which involves cooking food quickly in a hot pan with a small amount of oil. With those under your belt, you'll be able to elevate any dish and impress your dinner guests. So there's also some other skills that are really important to master, like knife skills, right? Obviously cooking basic rice is a really good one. Figuring out how you like to roast vegetables is a good one. For me, it's 450 in the oven, a little bit of oil, salt, pepper, garlic, done until they're nice and crispy. It's really just about practice, and you might suck at things at first, and that's okay, and you're going to get better, right? But like if we master the basics, then we can make more complex decisions, and especially once you learn how to like cook a nice piece of meat, it's really nice, like whether it's steak or fish or chicken or even tofu or whatever it's going to be, right? Like once you learn how to get a nice sear on things, and we can have a whole cooking class if you guys want to talk in the chat about like what kind of skills you'd like to learn. I could do an entire cooking class about any of these subjects anytime that you want. This one's really good too. Especially if you're not a big fan of eating the same thing over and over again, using your leftovers creatively. Look, leftovers don't have to be boring. It's a little bit of creativity. You can learn turn last night's dinner into a delicious new dish. One easy idea is to make stir fry with leftover veggies and proteins. Just add some soy sauce and rice, and you've got a tasty meal in literal minutes, right? Another good way to use leftovers is to make like a frittata or a quiche. Simply mix your leftover ingredients with eggs and cheese and bake in the oven for a hearty or satisfying breakfast or brunch. The possibilities are endless. So get creative and see what delicious meals you can come up with. I do this all the time. Whatever we have left over from dinner, I generally just fry with some eggs in the morning. Same with the stir fry, man. If I've got day old rice and literally any vegetable, I'll make a fried rice, and it only takes a matter of minutes. You just throw it in the pan, get the vegetables hot, throw the rice in, let it crisp up a little bit, spread it up, make a space in the middle, crack some eggs in there, stir them up so they get nice and scrambled, toss everything together. Boom, you got fried rice done in minutes. It's really just about learning how to use what you have, like, and especially if you do like things like big protein prep on Sunday where you pick a bunch of meat, right? Then you can just make a whole bunch of different options every week, right? Like, so I do ultra lean ground beef this week, and so I've made it into 3 different meals. Like, one was with potatoes and butternut squash where I tossed them all together. Today I did a little bit of rice with green beans. You know, I'm just kind of making it different now. It's like an Asian flavor. It's still the same beef. I didn't do anything different to it. I just now added different sides to it. It goes really good, you know, tossed up with like a little bit of greens in the pan and sauteed up and ready to go, like, you know, chard or kale or anything like that. And then you can throw it over some quinoa or something. It's really just about repurposing and learning what you like best and what is easy for you to do. Awesome. So this one's big too, and this is how you're going to become more confident in the kitchen, right? So you're going to experiment with new flavors and ingredients. One of the most exciting aspects of cooking is the opportunity to experiment with new flavors and ingredients. Whether you're trying out a new spice blend or experimenting with something unfamiliar like a vegetable, there's always something new to discover in the kitchen. To get started with experimenting, try incorporating one new ingredient into a familiar recipe. This can get you a sense of how the ingredient's flavor profile and how it interacts with other ingredients. Another approach is to explore different cultures and cuisines. This can expose you to new ingredients and flavor combinations that you may not have considered before. So I like to, if I see a vegetable I don't recognize, I generally just go and try to cook it. And a lot of times I'm not good at first. And then if I really suck at it, then I'll Google it and be like, all right, what do I do? But most of the time I can figure it out and I can kind of be like, oh, what's that? I like that. How do we do that? Right? You know what I mean? So it's really just about what you can try, what you can do, and how to get new things, right? And it really doesn't take that much. Like, just adding curry powder to things, now you've basically got Indian flavors into everything. You can just add it to, like, say you're cooking rice, throw some curry powder in with the rice. Now you've got curry rice or turmeric rice or whatever it is. Then you could add some other flavors to it and kind of go from there. Conclusion: making your kitchen life easy and manageable, right? It's going to require a few key steps. First, plan your meals, save time and reduce stress. Second, make sure your kitchen space is organized to make cooking more efficient and enjoyable. Third, invest in quality kitchen tools. It's going to make your life so much easier, right? And like, sharp knives save lives, right? Like, a dull knife is what you're going to cut yourself with because it's going to slip, it's going to move. You really want sharp knives. You want a solid cutting board. You want one good pan. If you just have that, it's a great head start, right? 4, master the basics, right? Do the basics over and over again until you got it down, right? 5th, use your leftovers creatively, right? Don't throw away food, save your money. And finally, don't be afraid to experiment with new kitchen flavors and ingredients and to keep things interesting. Remember, making your kitchen life easy and manageable is all about finding out what works best for you and your lifestyle. You can transform your kitchen into a place where cooking is fun, easy, and rewarding, right? I love to cook. I had a passion for it. I did it for years. So maybe it's a little different for me, but I feel like everyone can really enjoy cooking once you get into it, especially once you like start to discover new things and you can cook for friends and you can make a couple good dishes, right? Like, you really only need 3 or 4 good dishes and then you can really kind of experiment from there. But once you get a couple down, it's great. And then, like, learn to experiment, right? Like, you know, I like lettuce wrap tacos. And we do all sorts of different toppings for that. We'll do like pickled onions, we'll do, like diced peppers, we'll do different kind of sauces to try on top. We'll sometimes fry up some onions to make it nice and crunchy on top. It really just matters, like, once you have a real good baseline, you can kind of get an idea of where to go and what to do. So that's just some basics, cooking tips from a chef. If you have any questions, feel free to ask Bernard. Let me know. Any questions? Awesome.